Hi friends, welcome to yet another episode of BE Roundup, ET Brand Equity show where we analyze the marketing and advertising industry every week. And this week, as a guest analyst, we have Ms. Anurita Chopra from GSK. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me over.
This week, we saw the FMCG giant Unilever call out the advertising, not only in India, across Asia as lazy. Now, you have seen the advertising world in the same market evolve in front of you, right? So what's your assessment?
It's a view, and it's a strong view.
Right.
And I think amongst a lot of brands, Unilever is always respected for, taking a, strong foot forward. But as with everything, there are always lines of grey. So I guess where I come from is that yes, it is the onus of not just marketeers, but people from the film industry, people who shape the opinion of how society thinks, but more importantly, reflect it first. It's a cycle which goes on, that how often do you pick up trends, how often do you reflect it back, and then you boomerang it into something much larger, and it
Right.
often takes its own shape. Now, a lot of advertisers have taken, responsible advertising as part of their ethos, and have taken a stand on it. And whether it is as Unilever says, whether it is the percent of women depicted in advertising as strong women or working women. Now, sure, these are important causes. I think my view on this is, what is the purpose of your brand? What are you here to do? If it fits into that purpose, please go ahead and be responsible as a marketer to be able to shape the thinking of the society forward.
So there has been a recent concern in the Indian advertising industry that Northeast India is not very much represented well in the Indian advertising scene. When you talk to brands, they say that maybe for my product that market is not relevant enough, and that's why we are not showing it in our advertising. So how true is that statement? We just spoke about relevancy, right? So what's your take?
I guess it is not about or not about representation. If I were to talk of my category, then, well, people have sensitive teeth across the world. 1 in 3 people suffer from sensitivity. It's a condition, it's not a disease. Now it is, irrespective of where you come from. Yeah, if you belong to certain geographies and you abuse your teeth more through tobacco or other such, you'll perhaps have a higher incidence. But on an average, yeah. Do we represent that geography? Well, if it is needed, we will, because you have to relate to that market. At present, we have, for example, a lot of Bengali edits. Does it fulfill the needs of that market? Yeah, sure. Are we actually interested in Northeast as a market? Frankly, we are actually mounting a lot of initiatives. Even as I speak, I was speaking to my, East region, and as chance would have it, just a couple of weeks ago, that was part of our conversation. So for us, we know that that is a market which is lying to be open, waiting to be open.
Currently, the bigger contention is artificial intelligence, right? And how AI is basically shaping the industry, and So for example, this week Burger King, released an ad which was like, they claimed it to be an ad which was made by AI, without people, right? First of all, what's your take on the same thing? And gradually going forward, right? If the similar thing, if AI gets bigger and similar things happen in India, what's the implications?
It's a great question, and of course I'm aware of the work that they've done, and it's really fascinating, if you ask me. So AI is really fascinating in itself, because here you're using, where's the eyeball moving, what's interesting them, how do you create in your craft advertising which appeals to them more. But the fundamental question always will be, who is the master and who is the slave? Is technology your slave, or is technology your master? So as long as you're able to again create your creative spark, keep that alive, because there's nothing that beats the human intelligence. There's the AI and there's the human intelligence part of it. And that's where actually a lot of current thinking is going, that technology will take over all the repetitive tasks. And everything that can be coded will be coded and should be coded. Right. But then there is the emotional intelligence part of it, which thankfully lies with us. and will stay with us.
Coexist is the word, and technology should be the enabler, right?
Yes, it's always and should be. It should never become your master.
Right.
It should always be your slave.
Great. So, interestingly, you mentioned about, your category and how you are using, technology. So oral care is a very interesting category as such, right? How do you see it in India? I mean, not only from GSK or Sensodyne's point of view, right? And interestingly, what part does a marketer play in growing this category and growing the brand as well?
Again, a good question. It's one of the, I'm told, I just work in it and I don't, look beyond in terms of, when you're in it, you're in it. But it is a tough category. And why I say that is because it's 99% penetration. Everybody brushes their teeth, thankfully, in India. Mostly once a day, not twice a day, which they should be. But why is it fascinating is because it's a mature category. It's not one of those categories which has suddenly taken shape in the last 10 years, 5 years or whatever. But it's changing very rapidly.
Right.
And why do I say that is because if you were to look at this category, maybe, I don't know, even 5 to 7 years ago, you would find that people wanted freshness. People wanted a lot of foam. In India, people like jhag wala paste first thing in the morning. And whitening, white teeth. Very obvious things, no rocket science. But the market is evolving and it's been the onus of brands like us. Sensitivity always existed in this country, but people didn't know what it was. And it is therefore the job of the marketers to first help people understand that what you're actually suffering from is not cavity. It is sensitivity, which means you will never see anything, any dark spot. There's no visible, sign of it. But every time you have a hot cup of tea or coffee or something meetha or a glass of cold water, an electric shock goes right from your jaw into your brain, and people who really suffer from it, they cannot even think of. So imagine the life they are leading, which is they're denying themselves these simple things. And why? Because they don't know that a toothpaste, it's not even a medicine, a toothpaste can help you. It's just as simple as that. So I think for us, therefore, brands like us, we are shaping the category in a very different way, which is making people aware that it's not just white teeth and freshness of breath, while those are important and definitely there, but it's taking care of your overall oral health, right? And it keeps coming back to me even in, random conversations with friends and family that, oh my God, I can't live without Sensodyne once you've converted. So I think the good thing is we are educating people.
Right.
We're making them aware that it's a small change and you can make a big difference to your life. And this category is also evolving in that manner. People are just more conscious.
I picked a keyword. You mentioned about conversion, right? How people are converting towards Sensodyne, right? How tough is that? Because I know that families who have been using one brand for ages, right, and they stick to it. So how tough it is to convert people, and I'm sure it's a job of the marketer. It lies on the marketer to actually convince the people, right? So how tough?
Well, no marketer will ever say that, oh, it's so easy, because most marketers do understand that it is very difficult to break a habit, especially a morning habit.
Right.
Yeah. So. But I think what's working for us is, and I'm going back to what I learned way back in my MBA, which is single-minded positioning. Because we are so sharp and so clear about the fact that this is sensitivity. You are suffering from it. It will get worse if you do nothing about it. Do something now. And that's all we say, actually. That's all we say. And because we are a very authentic brand, we know what we're talking about. There is no, glamour, if you know what I mean, behind our brand. There is huge credibility. We talk to dentists who understand the science behind it and also recommend it. We talk to chemists who also recommend it. There is a lot of investment that we put behind what we communicate on TV, in print, on digital, because that's what people consume. They read all of this, they consume this content. So I think what's working is education. Very rational communication, because it is what it is.
Sensodyne's advertising has always been non-glamorous. They are right to the point. But we have seen other players in this category which are not obviously targeting the sensitive teeth, but especially gels and all that, right? You know how they glorify the category and all this stuff. What's the idea of keeping it like real and non-glamorous?
As I said, that because the science behind the brand is just so strong. We just want people to understand that it's a serious condition. It's not something they want to play around with, because it will actually eventually start damaging their teeth, and it's really no fun to lose your teeth at the end of it. So we understand the responsibility as a brand that we carry, and therefore we actually do not want to, as I said earlier, make it a fun brand, make it a glamorous brand. I'm sure it's relevant for other brands. There are different spaces, as I said earlier. This one is very rational. This one is very true to its word, true to its promise. The dentists that we have in our ads are actual practicing dentists. So they know what the condition is. And as I said, that it's because of the honesty of this brand, and it's refreshing to actually work with a business which is just so refreshingly honest. It is what it is. That is working for it.
So what's next? What's next from GSK as far as healthcare is concerned?
So actually a lot happening. We keep looking at how markets are changing, and especially frankly emerging markets like India and China, which are going through a lot of change. In fact, Southeast Asia, this entire belt where consumers are becoming far more choiceful, far more clear about what they want, far more interested in trying out new things, which is great news for us. So there are lots of new trends that we are picking up, and more importantly, as I said, that there are already things that exist in this market which people are not aware of. So we will be entering newer spaces which will even further help people be able to take care of their oral health, sharper spaces, and make sure that if say 3 to 5 years from now, it's not just sensitivity that they're taking care of, but many other things that they've been living with, and they don't know how to take care of it.
Thank you so much for being here, and it was a great insightful talk.
Thank you so much.
With this, we come to an end of today's episode. Till next week, stay tuned to ET Brand Educator.